This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Well, let's get back to it.
Britain, England actually, is playing in League B. God, can you believe that? In football and in everything else you can think of. Thanks a lot, Liz Truss. Winter is officially on its way, with Met Office forecasters predicting snow in Scotland next week. Snow?
Oh, no.
Summer's over, and Indian summer is cancelled, and temperatures will plummet across the UK with gales and rain expected. And on top of that, here comes the dark. We are currently losing daytime at the most rapid rate in the year, about 4 or 5 minutes every day. Just do the maths. If it's 4 or 5 minutes every day, let's say 4. So 4 times 7 is 32. So we're losing 32 minutes of light in 1 week. Can you believe that? We will shortly be putting the clocks back, furthermore, so as to create even more misery that this government has failed to find so far. Gales are predicted to engulf the northeast of the UK starting next Monday, and rain can be expected all over the rest of the country except in the southeast, which should be mostly dry. Mostly. It's likely to remain changeable right into October, with cold spells and rain interspersed with some sunshine. Met Office spokesmodel Annie said, from Monday there might be snow showers over the hills in Scotland, followed by temperatures returning to average, but wetter and windier, just like autumn, in other words. Tonight, chilly, showery rain, some of it heavy in the southeast, scattered showers in the north and the west, particularly in the north and the west, I bet. Scattered showers. I betcha, betcha, betcha. Tomorrow, showery rain may last throughout the day, mostly dry in the northwest.
What?
Mostly dry in the northwest? I seriously doubt that. Checking for you while you wait. Aha! What? This is Glasgow. Not raining tonight, not raining tomorrow, but it will be raining on Sunday. And then dry on Monday and dry on Tuesday and dry on Wednesday, and then raining on Thursday and raining on Friday and raining on Saturday and raining on Sunday and raining on Monday and raining on Tuesday and raining on Wednesday and raining on Thursday. You'll almost be able to dry out over today, tonight and tomorrow, but then you're going to be damp for the rest of your lives. Oh, well, never mind. It's not like climate change or anything. The outlook for Sunday to Tuesday. Dry in the south on Sunday, but with rain and strong winds spreading across northern areas, colder conditions and showers following on. Would you like to hear the long-range forecast for the next 4 weeks?
No.
At the start, this is like the last week in September, first week in October. October. That seems a bit quick, doesn't it? An unsettled start with showers or rain, drier and brighter. So a little bit of everything, in other words. They've got no idea. They're saying, into October, more unsettled conditions with showers or longer periods of rain to most parts of the country, especially in the west and the northwest. Winds strong, temperatures cold. And then, middle 2 weeks of October, after which, of course, the clocks go back, plunging us into the misery and the dark. Last chance for niceness. Good luck, everyone. Fingers crossed. Middle 2 weeks of October. After spells of changeable weather, October is most likely to see drier and more settled conditions develop across the UK, except Glasgow, which will get its own weather. Elsewhere, temperatures are expected to be close to or possibly slightly above average. Temperatures are expected to be close to or possibly slightly above average? We'll take it. Rose from Tavistock emails, I wish people would stop thinking that Kwarteng & Co. expect these policies to assist either the economy or anyone other than the rich. Since 2010-15, an apartheid system has been under construction, a steady increase in poverty and decrease in public services. The execrable condition of this country hasn't arisen all by itself. It's the intention, with vast wealth at the top for those who don't live here much of the year. The common people will be walled out, William Rees-Mogg has written. To know what is going on, all you need to do is look at look what the Conservative Party has done and what it is doing. Blimey, I think Rose emailed the wrong show. These are way too long. I mean, these are like books, these emails. You thought that one was a long one. Wait till I try and get into the next one. Can you edit these down a bit? maybe just a little bit. Like, just chop them in half randomly. Just take every other word out. See if I can read a short one. Here we go. Jed texts, the Stepford wife, Liz Truss, is dragging us to a handmaid's... You know what? I prefer the long ones. Stop with the long words, people. In fact, stop writing to me at all. Why can't these people just leave me alone? How do they get my number? Jane from Anglesey says, good evening. I'm in my tent on Anglesey and I'm in much need of hot air. Please, can you help? Well, if only I had the right page up, then I probably would. Well, I would at least think about it. Where it is? Where is the right page? God. When this show starts, it'll be great. What time's it on?
Hot air. HOTAIR.
French buyers snapped up a slew of British assets this week, from a slice of the UK's biggest telecoms group to a buyout of one of the country's oldest technology companies, underlying how overseas acquirers are taking advantage of depressed valuations. Are we getting tired of all this winning yet?
No.
The UK is experiencing relatively high inflation compared to all of the countries that we're in competition with, low investment confidence, and a weak currency, making it an attractive moment for European suitors to pounce on struggling British assets. Or, in other words, we're on the floor begging for help and no one's chucking us 10 pence. They're taking our shoes and our sandwiches. Or, as Liz Truss would say,
we have never had it so good.
Senior business leaders have been warning for weeks that UK assets are now increasingly vulnerable to outside interest as the pound has tumbled to its lowest level since forever. And companies have been hit by a pincer movement of rising costs and falling consumer spending. But what do senior business leaders know about business? Compared to the Truss bot. She's an expert. Andrew Truscott, head of UK investment banking at Citigroup, said, what you can see is that there is a global recognition that the businesses in the UK are cheap. There is not the liquidity coming into the UK stock market, it's all cash coming out. Or in other words, this is not a government, this is a smash and grab raid. If this country were a car, it would be up on bricks and they'd have nicked our wheels. Wednesday's flurry of inbound French interest comes 2 months after France's state-backed satellite group, Eutelsat, announced it was buying OneWeb, the space-based British internet company rescued from bankruptcy by Bodger Johnson's government. It was you, Bodge. Yes. And now we're selling it to them. God, do we own anything anymore? OneWeb has struggled to raise capital to come to market with its satellite constellation and become a viable standalone business. In a parallel, the French telecoms billionaire Patrick Drahi last year built an 18% stake in the former British telecoms monopoly BT. We used to own that, if you can remember back that far. Now the French have got it. This sparked speculation that the veteran dealmaker would ultimately try to wrest full control of the company. Said one French banker... Well, I could do. I said one French banker. They must think we're such mugs. I mean, really. I mean, the rest of the world is just staring at us thinking, well, who sells their electricity? Who sells their gas? Who sells their water? No one. Just us. We ain't got nothing no more. And I don't know about you, but I didn't get touched by any of the money that came from selling all that stuff. Where did that go, by the way? What did that buy us? Apart from nothing at all. Since Brexit, valuations are very low, so there are lots of companies that are listed in London that are very attractive financially, said one French banker. The UK companies are suffering from the Brexit discount and the falling pound, so lots of foreign buyers are scouting here, not just the French. Maybe someone should alert Jack Smug. We found a Brexit bonus for the French, who are buying what's left of UK PLC on the cheap because Brexit has made what is ours plummet in value. What do you think, Jack?
I don't know anything.
One more time?
I don't know anything.
For the hard of hearing?
I don't know anything.
He doesn't know anything. I am stunned. How's Brexit working out for you, by the way?
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah, that's what I thought. 0345 6060 973. Tulse Hill. Hello, D.
Hello, Nick.
D.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great, mate. Now, does D stand for anything, or is it just D?
It's D for Diana.
Diana.
Yes, dear. How are you anyway? Haven't spoken with you in 2 years.
Wow, haven't I been lucky?
Sheep. Anyway, I called because today it just hit me that these Tories think that the UK belongs to them. So when they do budgets and mini budgets and whatever else they call it,
fiscal
it's
events.
Just for them. Yeah, it's just for them.
Well, what they've learned is that there are no consequences to anything that they do, because at least 45% of the population will continue to vote for them regardless, because they've just spotted a dinghy or someone has said something woke. Oh, no. And they will vote for them next time around, and we'll be stuck with them forever.
That's a disaster, because it means we'll never have any money.
Well, you'll never have any money, Dee, and I'll never have any money, and no one I know will ever have any money. But at least the donor class will be doing just fine.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
it's just them. And then the second thing.
Here's another thing.
Yeah.
Thing number 2.
I was listening to them rabbiting on this afternoon, and when what's his face? What do you call him?
Which one?
Crazy.
Crazy?
What? Yeah, that one. You know, I thought it was Boris Johnson.
The gigglesome crazy Kwarteng?
Yeah, the one who was laughing when he was
at the Queen's funeral. Yeah. Has anybody actually got to the bottom of that? Because the internet lit up with curiosity about what it was that man found so funny. When no one appeared to be talking to him, he was just amusing himself. He burst out laughing because of something that was going on in his own mind. Has anybody actually got to the bottom of that? What was so funny at the Queen's funeral?
He should have been sitting there quietly.
He should be
really
in jail for that. Exactly.
He's in jail for laughing. Anyway, yeah. You know, they all went to eat, and so they must all talk alike, sound alike.
Yeah.
Just disgusting.
They all think alike, yeah. You know what? I think it's the school. It's either the school or it's the type of person that school attracts, because they all appear to come out the same.
Yeah. They must have the same tutor as well.
Yeah.
To teach them that sort of, way of thinking, talking, etc., etc.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. May I have another? All of that.
Wow. That hurt.
Just a little pinprick, Dee. That'll keep you going for the show. I've got to go. Thanks a lot. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
LBC. Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
I really like you. Do you like me?
Sue from Fareham emails, on this momentous mini-budget day, you have to wonder, why is it that we live in a world where the wealthiest people always seem to prosper and the rest of us just about manage to survive? Well, Sue, the answer to that is that 45% of the population continue to vote for a party that is funded almost exclusively by millionaires and billionaires whose interests do not coincide with our own. She says, I mean, even if what it says in the Bible is true, that it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven, whilst the little people down here are shivering their timbers, unable to afford the escalating food and energy costs, the rich are destined for that other place. And what awaits them there? They get burning fires to welcome them. It's just not fair. Yeah, nice and toasty warm in hell. Ain't that right, Smug?
I don't know anything.
He doesn't know anything. He may find out, though, in the fullness of time. From Rob in Sydney, the £37 billion spent on the contact tracing app got a few mentions in last week's shows. I've done some research on the internet near me, and it turns out that the Sydney Harbour Bridge, in today's money, cost 1.5 billion Australian dollars to build. That's £890 million. The Sydney Opera House cost 823 million Australian dollars. That's £490 million. So for the cost of an app that didn't work and was found not to have helped at all, you could have had two iconic landmarks that draw in millions of tourist dollars every year and still receive about £35.5 billion in change. It's hard to fathom where and on what that money was spent. Any comments, Budge?
I can't comment on that.
Blah. Still not missing you, Bodger. In case you're wondering. We really aren't either, by the way. I have detailed files on that. I mean, you might be of the opinion that we're really, really missing that funny bloke off the telly, but we aren't. Not even one little bit. That's just you, if that's what you think. Let's see now. Who's been waiting the longest? It looks like Chris in Belfast. Chris?
Oh, Nick, I was the guy that suggested you use a tank from the local museum to get in your house when you lost your keys. Yeah, but you lost your keys that time. Remember, you couldn't get in your house.
Well, that's many, many years ago now, but
yeah.
Okay.
But I've got a serious question for you.
What's your serious question?
If everyone's talking about reassuring the markets, how exactly do you reassure a supercomputer?
Stroke it and tell it it's the nicest, most brainy supercomputer that you ever went out with.
Because that's what they're talking about, isn't it? They're trading with computers now. That's what's trading down the pound, trading at thousands of trades a second. So how do you actually reassure a system like that?
And that's your serious question to me. You want a serious answer to that? Please say no.
No.
No, there you go. Excellent. Well, job done. Thanks a lot, Chris. Archie from Inverness says, I witnessed some shocking rudeness today. I was standing in a lengthy queue at the post office when two Z-list celebrities entered by the front door. I know where this is going. Casually strode past all of us who were standing in line and then angrily demanded some stamps and a postal order from the teller. To top it all, they then mooned at us on the way out. Can you top that for ignorance? I cannot believe that they're... I mean, OK. Here's the news this week. Meghan, Holly Willoughby and Philip Schofield. For crying out loud. There were worse things on display during the course of the Queen's funeral. And Laughing Boy was chief among them. What was so funny, Crazy? Keen to find out. He looked out of his mind. I mean, who just bursts out laughing when no one is talking to them? I mean, I amuse myself every now and again, but I wouldn't burst out laughing in someone's funeral. But maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just me demonstrating my woke credentials. If I examine myself, I'd probably find that I'm a lefty too. Tom from Sevenoaks says, after the fall in sterling against the dollar, it now cost me about £7,000 to send this text, equivalent to about 11 cents. Is there any hope? No, Tom. There is not. Let's have Bermondsey. Wait a minute. Didn't do that right. There he is. David.
Hi, Nick.
Hi, David.
Hi. It's about, the government removing the cap for the bonuses for bankers.
Yeah.
Nick, I can't understand why the government are looking at these bankers with such reverence, because those bankers now are going to be saying to themselves, God, look at us, aren't we great? The government rely on us so much. But don't forget, it wasn't that long ago that the banks had to be bailed out by the government.
Yeah. You don't know why the government is on the bankers' side? Well, it might be a coincidence that the Conservative Party does rely to a large extent on the banking industry and financial finaglers in general for where it gets its funds. Now some of that hot Russian money has dried up. They're searching around, desperate. Any passing billionaire is going to get the tin shaken in front of his or her nose. That's the reason why, David. It's all about the money, honey. But thanks for that. Jim from Hassocks says, did you see Bodger this week in the Commons? He looked like somebody who'd been dragged backwards through a hedge. He must have been on a right bender the night before, and I bet he got through a number of sonnets. Not a bender, it was a business meeting. He says, Carrie must have spent all morning clearing away the empties and wiping down the worktops in her new kitchen. I hope you enjoy your new highly deserved pay rise. I'm going to make myself a nice cup of food bank chocolate, don 3 jumpers and go to bed, says Jim. Well, I don't want to harp on about what happened last weekend, but Bodger Johnson, I watched the entire funeral from the very beginning to the very end, and then I watched the highlights afterwards, and then after that I watched the truncated 20-minute highlights. And the only person in the entire event that did not tidy their own hair was Boris Johnson. What a gigantic plank that man is. He's so wedded to his image that he didn't even comb his hair for the Queen's funeral. He showed up looking like he'd been sleeping in a skip. And when he got to the church and he tried to get in the wrong order. They had to come in the order in which they were elected, I think, something like that. And, of course, Bodge wanted to barge in first, and he got stopped by the official at the door. And the cameras spotted him, and this is an angle you don't normally get. So he turned his back to the camera, and you saw the top of his head, which is almost completely unencumbered by hair. That's the reason, apart from it's his image, and that whole, who, me? That sort of Just William act that he does. But that's the reason that he refuses to tidy his hair, is because he's covering up a lack of it. Just go royal, Bodge. Embrace your baldness. But, of course, that would ruin his image. I mean, I want the names of the people that are voting for these people. Would that be unreasonable? Jim in Hassocks... I read that. I just read that just now. Jane from Anglesey says, and I've read that as well. She's still in her tent. Paul says, I don't mind so much when goggle-eyed loons in the government frown and grimace, but when they smile and laugh, it scares the hell out of me. Yeah, me too. What's he laughing about? He's probably laughing about what he was about to do to us poor dopes who pay taxes. Never mind, it's just life. I have detailed files on all of this. There's just so much to talk about. I barely know where to begin. James says, after the most delirious budget in recent... delirious? What, as in insane, you mean? After the most delirious budget in recent memory, Liz and Crazy have forgotten the most important fiscal rule. Never get high on... Never get high on your own supply side economics. Never get high on your own supply.
Want to score some pot?
Maybe that's what he was laughing about. I have no idea. But he's been on the TV and he's been interviewed quite a lot. Did no interviewer actually ask him what he was laughing about? Because if so, I haven't read it. And if they didn't, then shame on them. Why not? I want to know. My entire attitude to the royal family has completely done a 180 this last week. I used to be against, and now I'm kind of for. They bludgeoned it into me with one of the best things I've ever seen in my life. That event on Monday was absolutely incredible. Try. I mean, like I said, I watched the entire thing, and then the highlights, and then the truncated highlights, and I can think of one thing in the entire day that was not perfect. Just one. And it was blink and you missed it. I'm not even going to tell you what it was. because it would besmirch the reputation of some fine young men. But how they managed to pull off something that's that complicated in such a short period of time. I mean, I know that they've known, we're all going to die, so they knew it was going to happen eventually. But to scramble and get it all done like that, I mean, the thousands of people who all had to be in the precise place at the precise time. How did they do that? It was like something out of a Cecil B. DeMille feature. Amazing. And you know what? And the reason that I've sort of done a 180 on the royal family is that the ruling party seem to be intent on ruining this country. Like I said, it's not a government, it's a smash and grab raid. They're just taking whatever they can get, stuffing it in their swag bag and running out before they can get their collar felt. Selling it off to some bloke down the pub, usually from France. So, given that the ruling party seem to be digging holes in our ship and sinking us, if we can just get a slight edge, just a tiny thing that other countries don't have, and that's the royal family. Ain't nobody got a royal family like we have. The rest of the world is not interested in the royal family of Sweden or the Netherlands or any of these places, or the Arab countries or any of that. Nobody cares. You couldn't pick them out of a lineup. But we do. And so if the ruling party seems intent of ruining this country, let's just keep hold of what tiny little edge that we've got over the others. And that's them. Wow. As time goes on, attitudes change. I know mine has. Oh, blimey, look at the time. It's just past 10:30 on LBC. The news headlines with Daryl Jackson.
Nick Abbot on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Nobody.
0345 6060 973. Let me just pause and tell you about this show, because this show does get put out as a podcast. The Friday and Saturday night shows get put out as a podcast. We take the news and the ads out, which means it takes less time to listen to. You'll use less electricity. And by this time next year, you'll have saved up enough money to buy a stamp to post to your energy provider to tell them that you still can't afford to pay your bills. But apart from that, the thing to remember about the podcast is that now it's only available on Global Player. We've taken it off all of the other podcast sites. You can only get it now on Global Player. It's exclusive. And by that method, I think you will love it. So remember, if you want to listen to this show as a podcast, it's only now on Global Player. Now, you can get it for free on Apple and Android and PC. It's got all of the stations that we do. You can listen back to all of the shows on all of the stations and a boatload of podcasts. So if you want to listen to this show as a podcast, then it's only now on Global Player. Oldbury, Ranjit.
Hiya, Nick. You okay?
Yeah, great, mate.
Nick, you're a man of the world. In the last few years, if you had to point your finger at 3 people who have ruined this country, without libeling yourself, who would it be?
3 people that have ruined this country. Let's think. This one? That one?
Yeah.
I'm a nutcase.
Him?
Yeah.
And 3 people that have ruined this country. Well,
I'm a whiner, and I keep whining and whining.
And he's ruined this country by the method of being funded by the exact same people that are funding the people who are running this country. It's all a tight little coterie of billionaires who seem to be staging a worldwide coup.
Yeah, that one that you go, if you get it in order, you've got those 3 people, but you haven't really got them in the order.
I haven't got them in the right order. Well, you do get extra points for getting them in the right order.
If you get it in order, you get extra points.
Extra points for getting in order.
If you get it in order, you get extra points.
Extra points.
The one person I would single out more, right, is Nigel Farage, right, because he was the one that was beating all the drums and keeping everybody divided, right? He knew he wasn't going to get anywhere. He wasn't going to be the bride, He was just going to be the bridesmaid, yeah? Okay.
Wow, I think you're at the wrong church if you show up and Nigel Farage is the bride.
Yeah. So basically, he said he was going to hold his government to account. Yeah. Now he was jumping up and down. British jobs for British people. Yeah. So all our crops have been still left in the ground because the Polish and the Eastern Europeans have gone back.
Yeah, because they're not coming over here and picking our spuds.
Yeah, we haven't educated our children to be the next doctors and nurses. So Liz Truster says we're not going to talk to America that much, but we are going to be pally-pally with India because we're going to have to import, people who work on minimum wage, but because they come from, say, not the third world, but India and Pakistan and the Philippines, they're going to become suddenly from working class to being upper class by sending their money back. So where's Farage now? Why is he on that stupid radio station or something? I've never listened to it yet, or I've only heard about it from people. Now, he should be out here, going, I'm a nutcase.
Ranjit, I believe if you put it to him, how is Brexit going, he will give you an answer.
Brexit's going great.
So that seems definitive. Brexit is, in fact, going great. There are no problems here, Ranjit. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know what? I don't want to insult anybody, but if you're of there's no but. If you're of reasonable intelligence, yeah, like Kwasi Kwarteng went to Eton, yeah, and he's blatantly lying through his teeth, right? And he
about what?
But what's he telling the truth about?
Well, good point.
That's the easier question. You know what I mean?
He actually disagrees with himself, but I'll come to that in a minute.
No, okay. So, all right, you're probably thinking about, what was he laughing at? Yeah, he's probably thinking, like Muttley in that cartoon where they catch that pigeon.
Yeah, wacky races. Yeah? Oh, catch the pigeon. Race. Catch the pigeon. Yeah. Catch the pigeon.
He's probably going, he's probably going, wait till next Friday, guys. I'm going to get you. And that's what he's probably doing.
Well, I don't know, but it just seemed a little bit bizarre to me and offensive. Did I mention offensive? Thanks a lot, Ranjit. Got to go. I think we just about got away with it. 0345 6060 973. Rebecca texts, the Prime Minister didn't need to enter the cathedral in chronological order, but if you get them in order, you get extra points. Hagar in Felixstowe says, would the last person to leave the country turn the lights off? Yeah, that won't be a problem, Hagar. The lights aren't going to be on. The current administration have seen to that by 12 years of misrule, and for which they are still blaming the Labour Party. You believe that? John says, for mini-budget, read tax bribes. Yeah, what seems bizarre is the rich don't vote Tory. I mean, I know I've mentioned this before, but it's the poor that vote Conservative. The poor and the economically inactive, retired people. People who are rich, people who are in the top 10%, they don't vote Tory. How bizarre is that? We've come to the point in this country's development where the party that is funded by billionaires is supported by the working class. And the party that is supposed to be for the working class is now supported by the rich. By supported, I mean voting. They vote for them. Everything's upside down and inside out. It's twisting my melon, man. Levi in Newport says, did you hear Jacob Rees-Mogg say they've only been in power for 2 weeks? Did he? Only been in power for 2 weeks, Smug.
You're better informed than I am. I don't know anything.
He doesn't know anything. Give him a couple of weeks and he'll know everything. What an absolute shower, eh? Harrow, Jonathan.
Nick.
Jonathan.
This is now having such a psychological effect on the peoples. I woke up this morning, and I want to talk about the Kwasi laughing in a second, but I woke up this morning, and James O'Brien talked all about this economy. I woke up actually at the exact moment that Kwasi was doing the speech, you say. And James O'Brien also, he called you the Don.
Who did?
James O'Brien, he said you're the Don of broadcasting.
No, he didn't.
No, he did. He said it. He tweeted it, but he said this morning because someone called him up and they said, "Could you do a bell sound effect each time Quasi says the pound?" And he went, "I'll leave that to Nick Abbott. He's the Don."
Well, if only I had such a sound effect.
But listen, I was today actually looking for the aeroplane tickets of any other countries to go to.
I'd like the first ticket to anywhere, please.
I'm being very serious with you. The problem is this country now is controlled opposition. Nobody has asked the Kwasi Kwartengs nothing about why he was doing the laughings.
I find that astonishing, don't you? Because Twitter was ablaze with people curious about what it was that man was finding so funny at the Queen's funeral.
No, but there are other questions that in this country we can't speak about on the radio because it's controlled opposition. That's why people did not want Jeremy Corbyn or Princess Diana in the power, because they are rebels. And this country is about, on the one hand, all the social media is a wokey-cokey, can't say this, do this. And
wokey-cokey. I'm going to use that.
It's true.
That's funny.
It drives you the mad. You go on any social media site and it just gives you a headache. But on the other hand, the country is being ground to a halt. And can I just quickly say this? I don't want to be rude or offend the listeners.
Uh-oh.
But I look at Liz Truss and I think it's an idiot. You know?
I look at Liz Truss and I wonder who's telling her to say all this stuff. I just don't believe that she's coming out with this stuff herself. I think that we're not actually being, we're not even being run by the Conservative Party anymore. I think we're being run by the European Research Group. That bunch of far right-wing, I don't know, let's call them the far right-wing dingalings. A different kind of dingaling to the ones they got in America. I'm not saying that, they've all got wooden teeth and play banjos. But the stuff that they believe in is just off the scale berserk. No one voted for them. No one voted for them at all. I don't believe that we would vote for a group of people that are so astonishingly right-wing. Here's their credo in a nutshell. The strongest wins. The winner takes it all. And the reason that they say that is because they've already won. That is pretty much the end of their the belief system. We've won, you've lost, and we want to cement that position in place. What's astonishing is that people continue to support that direction of travel, who will never benefit from it. That's the thing. That's the key thing. People support it who will never, ever, ever, ever benefit from it. But you can't tell people that they're being had because it's too much loss of face. So they'll just dig their heels in. And that's where this wokey-cokey, the wokey-cokey comes in. And that's what they're going to run the next election campaign on. They're going to be doing the wokey-cokey.
Okie dokie.
Wokey-cokey. 0345 606. And, by the way, I got detailed files on that too, because there was this attitude survey about the wokey-cokey, and it didn't come out like you think it would. I think once again, like Brexit, it's the minority that shout the loudest are the ones that get heard. Everybody else is too embarrassed to actually make such a noise, and so the majority opinion gets drowned out by loud cranks. But I'll come to that as well in a moment. Oh, so much to pack in a brief 3-hour show. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
This is LBC. Leading Britain's conversation. LBC with Nick Abbott.
Okie dokie.
0345 6060 973. Let's have a call in Chingford. Hello, John.
Oh, hi. I'm just a bit bemused about sort of new improved patriotic Labour Party. I noticed that they're going to have your favourite tune, played at their conference.
Are they?
Not the Sex Pistols. God Save the King, it'll be now. No, they just seem to be sort of proving how patriotic they are.
Yeah, why? I mean, is it something that ordinarily accompanies the snooze fest that is a party political conference?
Well, not like that. I don't think they've had it there for decades, I don't think. But they seem to be bending over backwards now to sort of prove how patriotic they are.
Yeah.
What with that and picket lines, I think, they should be concentrating on other things, really. I mean, they're still not that far ahead in the polls.
I am stunned. No, there were some polls that came out this week, and I cannot believe what I'm looking at. Wait. I'll one moment, please. I have detailed files. All I have to do is find them. Here we go. New polling has revealed that more voters believe... Now, get ready, grip onto something firm, because you'll be stunned. New polling has revealed that more voters believe that Liz Truss is a better choice as Prime Minister than her Labour rival Keir Starmer.
What?
Why? What leads them to that conclusion, John?
Well, I suppose it's lack of policies from Starmer, really. I mean, there's so many own goals that they just seem to be, they're arguing amongst themselves that the picket line's going to be major problems, especially when really low-paid workers go on strike. They haven't got a leader as charismatic as Mick Lynch. And obviously more Labour MPs will be joining the picket line. So, like you say, it's all the fighting among themselves. And this sort of, like trying to rebrand themselves as ultra-patriotic. I mean, they ought to actually be coming up with some, policies that would actually...
help the country. Patriotically actually help out. Exactly.
Yeah, but I don't know. Also, you've got this thing now. You've got two new-ish TV channels that are pro-Brexit and war on woke, the GB News and the Murdoch-owned Talk TV. I mean, during the funeral, they were totally... that was all that was on any TV channel. But now it's dinghies. I mean, they're dinghy spotting every time you...
Well, I'm telling you, this is what the Conservative Party are going to run on the next election, because they don't have anything else. They can't run on fiscal responsibility. They can't run on, even with these unfunded tax cuts that Crazy has just announced, they can't run on being a low-tax party, because they're a really high-tax party. They can't run on the state of the NHS. They can't run on law and order. All of the things that they would normally claim as their own, they have systematically ruined over the past 12 years. So they've got nothing. The only thing they've got is the war on woke and spotting dinghies.
And also the old chestnut they just dragged out of the ashes, which I think goes way back. Strivers, not skivers. If you're a striver, you might end up on a 0 hours contract.
Yeah.
It's ludicrous.
Whoop-de-doo. Exactly, yeah. Trying to make it appear to you as though it's the people below you on the ladder that are pulling you down, rather than the truth of it, which is that the people above you on the ladder are pushing you down.
Well, they've already said they're going to do something about... universal credit. They're sort of, getting more people back to work. They're still on this track, and it just seems to resonate. I don't know. It's unbelievable. But, Labour are only about 9 points ahead if you take a generalisation of the whole lot.
It is incredible. And, the longer it goes on like this, the more you think, well, maybe they should change their party leader, but the longer it goes on, they have less time in which to do that, for somebody to get their knees under the desk and to introduce themselves to the country. So, I don't know, we may be stuck with who we've got. But it does, at the moment, they are ahead, the Labour Party, 42 to 34 to the Tories. But people prefer Liz Truss to Keir Starmer. Based on what? I am stunned. But anyway, John...
Starmer's got to come up with some policies, really, and...
Well, he does. I mean, he has policies. They just keep getting nicked by the Conservative Party, and they rebrand them and call them their own.
Yeah.
All right, thanks a lot, John. 0345 6060 973. I mean, of course, in opposition, you don't have to come up with detailed policies. You just have to give an idea of the direction in which you will go, because it's years before he even if he did win the next general election, it'd be years before he comes into power. So who knows what this country might be like by then? A smouldering wreck, if the current trajectory is anything to go by. Labour's overall lead is now 4 points lower than it was about a month ago, something like that. 4 points lower than a month ago. Starmer's party was backed by 42% of voters compared to the Tories on 34%. Only 34% support you, Trusso.
We have never had it so good.
In the latest poll, the government received a net competency rating of minus 22%. A net competency rating of minus 22%. And for those of you who wish for a return of the funny bloke off the telly, you know, paw, that bloke, that low score of minus 22% is actually up 25 points. Because when Bodger was Prime Minister, the net competency rating was minus 47%. In other words, people took a gander at him and said no. And furthermore...
No.
1/5, 20% of voters find the government competent versus 42% who find the government incompetent. And yet they still think that Liz Truss, who is now the person responsible for all this mess we find ourselves in, is more competent than Keir Starmer, who hasn't been responsible for anything. What is going on in the world? Truss's personal approval rating has risen 4 points since the 7th of September. Based on what? Maybe because she managed to get through the Queen's funeral without banging her head on the coffin, or bursting out laughing and playing with her phone, like Swellen did. In a head-to-head, Truss leads Starmer by 4 points. Why? I mean, what on earth makes people think that Truss would be better than Starmer? Other than, of course, she is currently resident as Prime Minister. So it's easier to think of her as Prime Minister. Actually, you know what? It isn't. I cancel that thought. It's not easier to think of her as Prime Minister than Keir Starmer, who is not the actual Prime Minister. It's not, though, is it? Liz Truss is the leader of this country.
Oh, no.
Can you believe it? Redfield and Wilton Strategies are the people that took this poll. They surveyed 2,000 British adults online on the 18th of September, quite a few of which appear to have been drunk at the time.
Booze.
0345 6060 973. Dan says, trickle-down trust really hit the ground with today's not a budget. Fortunately, I have 50 euros in my wallet, so I'm one of today's winners, says Dan. And you know what? This trickle-down economics thing, it was priceless. Liz Truss tweeted that all other countries should get behind her little scheme of doing trickle-down economics. And barely a second went by, and Joe Biden, the President of the United States of America, tweeted, I'm sick of trickle-down economics. It's never worked. I'm going to fix our economy from the bottom up and the middle out. What do you think about that, Liz?
That is a disgrace.
Yeah, how's that American trade deal working out, by the way?
Oh, fabulous.
The one that you said was going to be easy. Yeah. I do have detailed files on why trickle-down economics won't work, and it's because it has been tried many, many times before. So I'll lay that on you, baby, in just moments. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
You're joking.
Yeah!
Right, I'll just give you some details about trickle-down economics, because people are talking about, well, I don't think it will work, and it might not work, and there's the slight possibility that it's not going to work. And here's the actual fresh dope, kids. President Trump sold his 20... This is from the Washington Post. You remember President Trump, don't you?
I'm a whiner, and I keep whining and whining.
Yeah, that's him. He sold his 2017 tax cuts as rocket fuel for the economy, arguing that freeing up money for the wealthy would allow them to hire more workers, pay better wages and invest more. The tax savings, in other words, would trickle down from the rich to everyone else. Now, keep in mind that the people that paid for Donald Trump to become the President of the United States of America are also paying for the Conservative Party to continue running this country, and in large amounts funded Brexit. So it's no surprise that what Trump tried 5 years ago is exactly what the Conservative Party are going to try now, because they're essentially the same people. So Trump's done this already, and he's not the first one. It's happened in many countries with the same effect, as I am about to outline. Just as many economists predicted, slashing individual, corporate and estate tax rates was mostly a windfall for big corporations and wealthy Americans. The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act did not pay for itself, failed to stimulate long-term growth, and did not lead to sustained business investments. According to one of the most comprehensive studies to date on tax cuts for the rich, this should come as no surprise. A London School of Economics report by David Hope and Julian Lindbergh examined 5 decades of tax cuts in 18 wealthy nations and found they consistently benefited the wealthy but had no meaningful effect on unemployment or economic growth. In other words, Liz Truss is just making this stuff up. She's selling it to you in the manner to which it does not apply. It's a very tortured sentence, but you probably get what I'm trying to say. What they're telling you, the reason they're telling you that they're doing this is not the truth, because this has been done before with zero positive effect, apart from if you're rich, in which case you're laughing like crazy Kwarteng. They set out to identify, the London School of Economics researchers, they set out to identify major tax cuts on the rich in 18 wealthy nations from 1965 to 2015. In the United States, that included the Reagan-era tax cuts of 81 and 86, which dramatically reduced the top income tax rate from 70% to 28% after fully taking effect. They then traced what happened to those nations' economies in the 5 years after the cuts were implemented. They focused particularly on income inequality, economic growth as measured by gross domestic product, and the unemployment rate. They aggregated those trends across countries to capture the broadest possible picture of the tax cuts' effects. First, the tax cuts succeeded at putting more money in the pockets of the rich. The share of national income flowing to the top 1% increased by about 0.8 percentage points. For comparison, the United States, the bottom 10% of earners capture only 1.8% of the country's income. So the super rich increased their wealth by half as much again as the poorest 10% earn. The effect was statistically indistinguishable from zero. The rocket fuel so often promised by supporters of these tax cuts fizzles out time and time again. Given the evidence, they say, why are such targeted tax cuts perennially popular among policymakers? The authors point to one major reason: the power of wealthy individuals and corporations to set policy agendas through lobbying and campaign contributions. And there it is. It's all about the money, honey. Doesn't work. Yeah, at least in the way that it's being sold to us. Trickle-down economics. And on that subject, Sam texts, I can't wait to get trickled on. I suspect you won't have to wait too long, Sam. 0345 6060 973. Swansea, hello, Val.
Oh, hi, Nick.
Val.
Okay. Very quickly, I'm not ringing about this particular thing I want to say, but as you've been wondering why, Nick, Liz Truss is being suddenly, held favourably compared to Nick Starmer, Well, that's because, in my opinion, not only he's got a lacklustre style, but he doesn't have any emotional conviction, in my opinion, at all.
Are you kidding me? Liz Truss is a robot.
No, so that's him. I mean, that's him. So therefore, it probably just needs a robot to be a bit better than him. And then, as for her, I think she probably has got sprinkled some gold dust on her, as she took part in that exceptional, funeral service.
That had nothing to do with her whatsoever.
No, I think she did get sprinkled with a gold dust for that.
I very much doubt it. No.
Anyway, but I mean, you're trying to work out why, and obviously there are some explanations, and that's some explanation.
Well,
anyway.
I guess so. Yes.
But anyway,
you know what? There's something very, very wrong with this line. I keep getting an echo. It's like I'm doing this show in a crevasse. Can we call you back, Val?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, we're going to call her back. Do we have her number? David says, I've been waving a Union Jack in front of a pound coin all day and its value is still sinking. I'm going to try singing Rule Britannia to it instead. You better had, David. Because we're putting this down as your fault. Maida Vale. Hello, Johnny.
Hello.
Yes, Johnny. Just in time.
Hello. I was saying, things have changed now because I've had such a good, interesting conversation, but it was kind of a jokey thing, but I was thinking, as the Queen is not head of state anymore, I was always brought up to think that you shouldn't mess about, like, ripping a £5 note or something like that. We never had a £5 note, but if we did, we wouldn't rip one up because...
No, well, you couldn't now. They're unrippable.
Well, it's a waste of money. It's a waste of... Well, exactly, but it's a waste of money, but also it's kind of treason to do something like that, right? And I was thinking, do we have a little hinterland gap whereby it's not the Queen head of state anymore, so it kind of doesn't matter, but could we do that? And your researcher quite rightly poo-pooed the idea, saying, no, it's not.
Is that what he did?
There's nothing that... He just said, no, that doesn't make sense.
Well, there wasn't... I don't think there was a second in which we were lacking a head of state, because that's the nature of the monarchy. It just carries right on, carries on regardless.
But this one doesn't represent it anymore. So I was thinking, I'm getting it.
Right, well, if you can rip up one of those new plastic £5 notes, Johnny, then I wish you all the best. I haven't actually tried that, but I seriously doubt that it's possible. But thanks for that, whatever that was. 0345 6060 973. Swansea, hello, Val. Oh, it's you again.
Yes, me again. Is it better now?
It sounds much better, yeah. I've got no echo now.
Clear. Okay, good. Well, the reason I rang was because you said earlier on about the 180-degree turn regarding the royal family.
Yes.
And actually, I wasn't really going to be listening to you anymore. And I just happened to have your show on.
You listened by accident.
Yes, I did, and because I thought now I did a 360-degree turn, I would say.
Well, now, wait a minute. A 360-degree turn is you went back to where you started.
No, that's true. No, probably 330 or something. So what I mean is, I've even probably more so than you, but the fact that I heard you say that means that I can now continue listening to you, believing that you have
great,
correct
Val.
insights.
I appreciate it. 03... Another satisfied customer. 0345 6060 973. Sam, by the way, is still waiting to get trickled on. Any moment now, Sam. David says, I've been Oh, no, that's the waving the Union Jack thing. Tom says, Nigel Farage said today's budget was the best since 1986. We really are doomed, he says.
I'm a nutcase.
Keith says, Nick, the pound in your pocket today will be in someone else's pocket tomorrow. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah. Well, it would if I actually carried money anymore. Does anybody actually carry money anymore?
No.
I mean, I walked around with cash this week, but I couldn't spend it. So many places you try to offer them money, and they look at you like they're mad. Like you're mad, not them, you. Oh, we don't take cash. It's just another method of control. It's another way in which the people in the financial finagling racket, those people are trying to enslave you. They just want you to get debt up to your eyeballs and then pay off the interest, never the principal. That's where they want you. And then they've got you. As soon as you get you're loaded with enough debt that you can't actually pay off the principal, and you just have to pay off the interest, just keep it ticking over for the rest of your life, then you would become a slave to your own debt. And becoming a cashless society is a really easy way of making that happen more quickly, because people don't think about the money they're spending when it's when you're just booping it, boop, like that. If you have to reach into your pocket and to pull out a fiver or a tenner or a £20 note for a pint of lager, booze, then you know that you're spending money. And when you run out, you ain't got no more. Got to go to the bank. Ask the hole in the wall if you can have some more money, and it might say
no.
In which case, that's the end of your evening. But if you've got the card that goes boop, then you can continue spending like like it's not real money. Makes you spend more. It just does, and that's why they want it. You know, every now and again, I think that The Matrix wasn't actually a sci-fi film. It wasn't sci-fi, not science fiction, science fact, not sci-fi, sci-fi. Clapham. Hello, Tommy.
Hello.
Tommy.
Hello, yes. As someone who is going to be benefiting from the tax cut, I'm not laughing like Kwasi Kwarteng. I mean, I'm going to needlessly benefit from it. I don't appreciate it, and I don't want it being done in my name. You know, I go to a private school. My parents are in the top 1% of earners. And he talks about how we've had a low-growth economy, you know, the one that the government he was last in was running. Giving people like me and my parents more money that we don't need or want is not going to spur the economy. And trickle-down economics, as you rightfully said, does not work. It's been proven time and time again. I think rather than trying somehow some insane reason to give money to us for, you know, for an economic philosophy that is proven to never work, to never work, it's insane because, you know, there are families.
If the plan was as it's sold to us in order to benefit us all, then it is quite clearly insane because it's doing something that hasn't worked in any country it's ever been tried. But that's
it hasn't. Exactly.
But yes, so the plan isn't that. It's being sold to us as a lie. They're not doing it in order to help the country. They're doing it in order to help the donor class, the people that prop that party up, who are, coincidentally, a lot from the financial finagling racket.
Yes. I mean, if you look at what, you know, some of the families in this country who are having to choose between heating and food, giving more money to people like, you know, people high earners like my family. I mean, you know, spending more on things that we already can afford. How is that going to help those people that, you know, are having to make very difficult decisions at the moment and are going to be facing a very, very difficult winter? It makes no sense to me, and I don't want it being done in my name, and I don't appreciate it.
Okay, well, that's told them. All right, thanks a lot, Tommy. Of course, giving money to those that are not in want of it is not going to revivify the economy. How could it? Because people who are millionaires will just take the extra 20 grand or 40 grand or whatever it is that Crazy's just given them, and it will just go in the bank. They're not desperate to spend money, to acquire money, because they've got loads of it already. It'll either go in their bank or, more likely, it will go in some sort of offshore account. It will go into their account in Jersey or Switzerland or the British Virgin Islands or here, there and everywhere, baby. And it'll just sit there and they'll accrue more money from having that money. Assets. Whereas, if you give that same amount, you spread it out all over the place to poorer people, then they will spend the money because they're desperate. They will spend it, and in a virtuous circle, it will sluice its way around the economy, and we will all come out, you know, cleaner and brighter, and we'll all smell fantastic. I think that's what Tommy was trying to say. even though he said it a lot better than me. Never mind. Kids, eh? What a disappointment. Aren't you supposed to be out doing the disco dancing, Tommy, and getting off your face on, like, huffing gas?
Well, I think that's not tonight.
Not tonight.
I've had the cold and all the flu.
Oh, really? Please tell me
recently.
more.
Stop whining.
All right, thanks a lot, Tommy. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
This is LBC. Conversation. LBC with Nick Abbott.
Everything is going extremely well.
Yeah, kind of. Well, edit that out later. Alex says, hey, Nick, what a day. I cannot believe Crazy Kwarteng's budget. I might as well stay on the beach in Mexico for a bit longer. Not a cloud in the sky. Yeah, well, thanks, Alex, but we don't wish to know that. Let's have Vienna. Declan.
Hi, Nick. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for making your call.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just calling to talk to you about Liz Truss's, where her allegiance really lies. But something...
Well, I think we know.
I was just listening to you talk, and it was like a kid. I heard it. I can't really understand this. They're taking the cap off bankers' bonuses to attract the best talent in the world to the UK.
Yeah.
Huh? What? Can you make a connection there anywhere? And what does that say to the young people in economics and politics today? You don't stand a chance because we're going to take the best talent. And then you have to ask yourself, who is this talent?
The reason that bankers' bonuses were curtailed, and it's not much of a curtailment, let's face it, who has a bonus more than the entire amount they earn that year? A 100% bonus. Like, that's not enough for them. They're already earning six figures at least. And so, the same amount as their entire year's earning on top, that's not enough. But the reason why it was curtailed, of course, was because the insane dash to meet their bonus targets meant that they were making these ridiculous bets, which eventually caused the crash of the world's economy in 2007-8.
Yeah.
And that's why this not great impediment to their earnings was brought in order to make it less likely that they would go on these insane betting runs and do the same thing again. Because the one thing that they learned, I mean, people say that the bankers, they didn't learn their lesson. Of course they did. Their lesson was that they can do anything they like and get away with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And with what talent does that attract? What does it say for the kind of talent that you're going to attract?
Well,
just more people in
frauds,
washing money.
Right, fraudsters and gamblers.
But legal fraudsters.
Yeah. Well, not legal, but the only punishment that was ever served out to banks that were found to have ripped their own customers off, deliberately so, was that they had to pay back some of the money that they managed to get from us. That's the only punishment that was handed out. They had to give back some of the money that they stole. What a way to run a country, eh?
Yeah. It was like Ursula von der Leyen. She was being investigated for the disappearance of like 40 million euros. And if found guilty, she would maybe be fined, do 1 year in prison or be fined 20,000 euros.
lặng lẽ ngồi buồn biến chiều hoang vắng